Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's session. In today's session, we'll start with the third module. And as I told you before, the first two modules they talk about the big data HFS, what is HDFS, what is the HDFS ecosystem, how to run the MapReduce programs using various techniques, and then we talk about all the tools that are available on the Hadoop ecosystem, and some important tools we looked into. That is the total module 1 and 2, and module 3, 4, and 5. They talk about the data analytics, completely data analytics, covering all the aspects. And if you are aware of all the machine learning techniques, then data mining, data warehousing techniques, it comprises all of that. And we'll start with the module 3. And in module 3, we are going to learn about the business intelligence concepts and the application. In this, before that, there is a one introduction chapter. Today we'll go through that introduction chapter, which talks overview of the data analytics. It tells what is the business intelligence, what is pattern, how pattern recognition is done, how the data processing is done, and what are the different technology that are used for doing the data analytics. It covers a whole picture, and then we'll start with the actual syllabus, that is business intelligence and concepts and applications. In that, we are going to learn about the business intelligence for better decisions. Then, what are the different types of decisions we have? What are the different tools? What are the BI skills, business intelligence skills, business intelligence applications? We are going to look into this particular topic. And module 3, 4, and 5. The book for reference is Data Analytics by Dr. Anil Maheshwari, and already that book has been shared with you. And from that, the chapter 2 covers the business intelligence concepts and the application. Then data warehousing. So we'll get introduced to what is a data warehouse and what are the design consideration for the data warehousing that is used, and what are the different development approaches that we can use for the data warehousing is covered, and brief data warehousing architecture is covered in that particular topic. That would be the another chapter in data analytics by Anil Maheshwari. And next topic is data mining. And in data mining, we will get introduced to the what is a data mining means, then how we can do the gathering of the data and selecting of the data we are going to see. Then most important aspect of data mining is the data cleansing and the preparation. So how, what are the techniques we employ, what are the information we should be aware about the data quality, how to do the cleansing, and how we prepare the data for the further step. Excuse me. And then we'll learn about the outputs of a data mining, then evaluating whatever the data mining results, what are the different evaluating techniques we have, we will see. Then data mining techniques, data mining best practices, and myths about data mining, and data mining mistakes. Those are the things that we'll be learning in data mining. Then data visualization. Data visualization is the most important factor, because human, when we are comprehending any kind of a information, the most quickest way of comprehending the information is the visualization. So that is why data visualization is a very very important aspect, where information can be grabbed and disseminated in a very effective manner. In data visualization, we'll see the introduction, then excellence in visualization. Then we will see there are different types of charts, then visualization examples we will see, and again extended example phase 2 we will see, and tips for the data visualization, how data visualization should be done. There are certain tips on that. We will look into that. So first, we will start with the very introduction of the data analytics, the chapter one, which covers like the general idea of the data analytics. What are the aspects that will be covered in the data analytics? The wholeness of a data analytics. Business is an act of doing something productive to serve someone's needs and then earn a living and make the world better place. So what is the definition of the business? Business is nothing but doing some kind of a productive work to serve others needs. So without others needs there cannot be any business. Businesses are built on the basis of the needs. As there is a increase in the need, as there is a new needs, that will give rise to a new businesses. And by serving the someone's need, that is a way we get our livelihood. Their activities on the paper. Okay. Are you able to see my screen? Hello. Hello. Anybody? You are able to see my screen? Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So it depends on the size of the business. Then either it is recorded on a paper or it can be recorded on a electronic media, such as computers. Okay, and whatever the recording that is done, that record becomes the data. Okay, we understand what all that data means, and the good example is like whenever you go to any of these big retail shops, whenever they are scanning the items, everything is getting recorded. Okay, when they generate a bill, that data is stored in the databases, and that data can be used for the analysis purpose. So why we record the things? We record it so that we can do the analysis on top of that data, and we can get some information like some kind of a hidden pattern or a hidden idea or hidden information that will help in serving the business or making the improvement in the business. For example, one of the restaurant, they were seeing the like sales, and that sales, there was a the total customers available, and the whole calendar, and some days of the calendar, they used to see a dip in the non-vegetarian items, even though the number of customers, there is no drastical change in the amount of business or the number of customers. But on certain days, the drastically the non vegetarian uh, food requirement will be less. So, and with this pattern they matched and see, they saw that it was related to that particular community in that area. On certain days they avoid consuming the non-vegetarian food. So the business with this new idea, they can rescale on those days. So they can correlate, they can easily find out which are those days where it can go down, and on those days they can rescale the food. And so that's a one example how the data that is captured will reveal some kind of information. and these ideas can be fed back into the business so that it can evolve and become more effective and efficient in serving customer needs. So that particular information can be utilized for the further business improvement, or improving the customer experience, or catering new needs of the customer. So that particular data, it depends on how, what is your requirement, how you want to, what you want to look in that particular data. For example, you will go with some kind of a hypothesis, and you will try to see whether that hypothesis is true, running various analytics on that particular data. So that will reveal some kind of a information. So this diagram depicts business intelligence and data mining cycle. So business, when you are doing the business activities, it will generate the records that forms as a data. So when we have a data, on top of that data, we can do the analytics, the data mining can be done. Once we do the data mining, it reveals some kind of a intelligence in terms of a patterns, or a direct information, or a indirect pointers. So we will get some kind of a indicators, or some kind of a knowledge which we can use to improve the business further. So that is a cycle we have. And for now, like mining, you understand what is the mining. For example, we have a lot of mining, physical mining. We get the ore, we do the processing on top of that. At the end, after doing all those processing, we will end up with a particular metal. That is the mining. In case of uh, a business intelligence related field, or the computer science field, mining means what? Working on the data that is available, and trying to figure out if there is any kind of a hidden information that can be utilized for the business purpose. And business intelligence, any business organization need to continually monitor its business environment and its own performance, and then rapidly adjust its future plans. This includes monitoring the industry, competitors, suppliers, and the customer. So how we can, another way of making use of the data is checking its own performance, whether it is performing as expected. For example, most of the companies, they declare their revenues. So there can be a comparison quarter by quarter, year by year, so that we will come to know the whether business is doing good or not. And also checking on the how the industry, that particular industry is doing over year on year or quarter on quarter, the status of the competitors, how growth in the competition. So all those things should be analyzed. That forms the business intelligence. Normally, the top management or the executives, they, what they do is, in order to track the performance and to check the health of the business, they will have some key performance indices. Those are called as KPIs, and also they can rely on the key result areas. By monitoring those indices, those areas, they can easily understand the health, and also it will help with the future plans for the business. Business intelligence is a broad set of information technology IT solutions that includes tools for gathering, analyzing, reporting information to the users about the performance of the organization and its environment. These IT solutions are among the most highly prioritized solutions for investment. Now, with the rapid growth in the computer science technology, information technology, now it is very easy to mine the data, large amount of data. Earlier, because of technological hindrances, even though the organizations had access to the large amount of data, mining that data means going through that data and finding any patterns, hidden patterns, was not that easy. It was very difficult. Now with a lot of improvement in this IT, information technology, there are a lot of tools are there for gathering information, analyzing, and generating the reports. And that is how now it has become a crucial function of any organization. You name any big organization, they constantly work on this business intelligence aspect, so that they find new avenues for increasing their business, or expanding their businesses. So it forms a key information for decision making. So for the decision makers, the business intelligence is the most important aspect. The results of the business intelligence, they form as an input for the decision makers. Pattern recognition. What is a pattern? Pattern is like some kind of a behavior. Just one, I gave a one example to you. On for a certain restaurant, on certain days, the consumption of non-vegetarian food was relatively less. Okay, so that is a kind of a pattern. Maybe that repeats on certain day. Okay, certain day of a week, or certain days of the month. Yeah. So there is a certain pattern. So then we can correlate with some information. Maybe that is a practice of that particular community where the restaurant is. So by understanding that practice of the particular community, the restaurant can easily recognize pattern why it is going down. Okay, so that is how we can readjust using those patterns. This is one example of the pattern. There are many such patterns. For example, we have a data, historical data, weather data, and we can find a correlation between the weather data and the crops that are grown. Okay, the yield of the crops. So such if we had access to that kind of a data, then we can try to find a pattern, if there is any relation, any kind of a pattern that follows according to the weather parameters and the yield that we are getting. Pattern is a design or a model that helps grasp something. Patterns help connect things that may not appear to be connected. Patterns help cut through complexity and reveal simple, understandable trends. So these are the trends within. So which will be very difficult to visualize or think about, but the data might reveal those patterns. And pattern can be as definitive as hard scientific rules, like similar to some kind of a formula. For example, like the rule that sun always rise in the east. So that is a pattern. So that is scientifically proven. There could be patterns like that, or there could be patterns which are very hard to understand. They can be a simple generalization, such as Pareto principle. Pareto principle, it states 80% of effects come from the 20% of the causes. So if you address, suppose if it is a scenario like a operation, this is one of the example where the operations people were asked to uh, cut down the number of cases that were raising at least by 60% or half, by 50%. Then what did was they did the analysis of all the cases that were raised by the user, and they sorted out all that, and they grouped by most common problems. When they grouped everything, they found that about 20% of the problems were causing, those were the root cause for the 80% of the problems. So if you address those 20% problems, 80% of the cases will reduce. So when addressing 20% would require a relatively less effort, so they addressed the 20%, actually, which resulted in more than 70% reduction in the cases. So that is a Pareto that can be applied to many cases. And patterns can be temporal, which is something that regularly occurs over time. Means over a time you will be able to see that particular pattern. So that is temporal, and patterns can be a spatial, such as things being organized in a certain way, and patterns can be functional, in that doing certain things leads to a certain effects. Good patterns are often symmetric. So these are the different patterns, that we have to visualize. And again, it depends on the expertise of the data miner, okay, or the data scientist, to find the hidden patterns. Okay, there are many approaches to find the patterns, but in spite of all those, it is the knowledge of the data miner, understanding of the business, okay, with how well he understands the business, that will help in getting the patterns very quickly. So this is one of the study that was conducted, retaining students in an ongoing challenge for the universities. So retaining the students, this is for all the educational institution. That is a big challenge. And the recent data-based research shows that the students leave a school for social reason more than they do for the academic reason. So normal thinking, or the what you can say, you have traditional thinking is that students are universities are not able to retain students because of the academic reasons. So but the research, when they did the research on the data, based on the actual data, uh, then they it revealed that it is not because of the academic reasons. The pattern inside can instigate schools to pay closer attention to the students, engaging in the extracurricular activities and developing a stronger bonds at the school. So it was not more of a academic reason, it was more of a social reason. So by involving, engaging students in the extracurricular activities, and developing a strong bond between the all the stakeholders of that particular organization, the retaining students can be like increased to a higher levels. So diamond mining is the act of digging into large amounts of unrefined ore to discover precious gems or the nuggets. So this is the how we can express the data mining. Data mining is like the this act. It is like getting the diamond out of the unrefined ore. Okay, so that is the very hard, difficult process. After that difficult process, we get the diamond, which is the in our IT, it is the precious information or the business intelligence. So similar to that, data mining is the act of digging into large amounts of raw data to discover unique, non-trivial, useful patterns. So there are many examples that are given for data mining. So you can go through those examples. Data processing chain. Data is the new natural resources. So now we can call data is a natural resource for any organization. Data is a natural resource. Now you can see all the big organization, they are behind the data. So if they get access to the lot of data regarding the customers, they can make a better decisions, or they can drive the users in a direction where they want to. So based on the whatever the data is available, based on their interest, based on their buying patterns, based on how the particular customer is spending his time. Okay, based on all those activities, they can have a useful information. That is how now data has become a new natural resource. Implicit in this statement is the recognition of hidden value in the data. So then when we say natural resource, what we are looking for, that hidden value. That hidden value is nothing but a some kind of a intelligence, some kind of a pattern, some kind of a idea. Okay, that is what is the hidden value. Data lies at the heart of the business intelligence. There is a sequence of steps to be followed to benefit from the data in a systematic way. So, in order for extracting that hidden value, we have to process the data, and this is the data processing chain they have given. This is the data, raw data, what that we get. The raw data is kept in some kind of a storage database. Database is it is a structured or unstructured depending upon what kind of a database we have. The data can be stored. For example, in case of Oracle, which is a structured database, the data is organized into tables. Suppose if a customer information will be stored in one table. If there is a transaction, okay, sales or purchase, those can go into a different table. Product information, okay, that can go into a different table. So that is how the data will get organized in the database. And a data warehouse, most of the time the database and the data warehouse, data warehouse database, whenever organization they want the data for their operational activities to carry out the day-to-day activities, they use the database. So database is for all the operational things, and data warehouse is used for getting summaries, running analytics. So that whatever the information that is available in the database, that will be moved to a data warehouse. Okay, maybe in some dimensions, new dimensions will be created. Data will be stored with the new dimensions for easy query. So data warehouse is a huge compared to databases. So the storage here is huge compared to the database. Database will be like it will be having a data which is required for the operation of a organization, but a data warehouse will be having all the historical data which is required for the analytical purposes. And on top of this data warehouse is, as I said, this is a storage of the data, but there are many dimensions added, many historical data is kept, and on top of that data we run the analytics. So we do the data mining, and when we do the mining on this, actual out results in case of patterns or in case of some idea behavior, that we can represent using the data visualization. What is a data? We already saw anything that is recorded is a data. Whatever you record, any kind of a activity, that becomes a data. Observations and facts are data. So similarly, observations, whatever facts are data. Anecdotes and opinions are also data of a different kind. Data can be numbers like the record of daily weather or a daily sales. Data can be alphanumeric, such as the names of the employees and customer. So data can be anything. It can be number, it can be a character, it can be text, it can be paragraphs. Then these are the structured data sources. There might be semi-structured data or unstructured data, like videos, like audio files. So there are data is in any form. Whenever you capture anything, that becomes a data. And data could be from any number of sources. So how many sources we can have, it depends on your requirement. So data can come from many sources. Data can come in many ways. So when we say ways, data can be on the just the paper reports. It can be stored in a physical file inside the computer, different formats of the file. The it can be like it is a spoken over the phone or a audio file. It may be email, or it can be in the chat. It may come as movies and songs in the DVDs and so on. So there are hundreds of ways to get the data. There's also data about data. So what is data about data is nothing but the metadata. So the data describes the other data, that is called as a metadata. For example, here is given the YouTube videos that we keep on the YouTube. When we upload, there is a lot of metadata information we give. Metadata information is like what is that video is about, and what is the link, what is the description, and what type of a file it is, and what it contains. All those becomes the metadata. So we can have data about data, which is called as a metadata. And data can be of different types. They can be unordered collection, means there is no particular order in the data that we are receiving, or it could be very ordered. Okay, so we are getting in one particular order, maybe from smaller values to higher values, and so on. Or it can be discrete numeric values. So between certain range, we might get a discrete value. That could be another type of data that we might get. Then it can be fraction, ratios, or the fraction of a kind of a data. And also the data, as I told you, can be audio, video, and graph files. So there is information stored in those audios, videos, and graph files, and blobs, often called as a blobs, binary large objects. So these are the different kinds of data that we can have. Next, as you already aware, what is a database? Database is a modeled collection of data, is available in many ways. So it is a collection of a data, and we can access that particular data in many ways. For example, Oracle database, you can access that data using a structured query language or SQL, or there are certain tools, like one of the example is a Toad or a SQL loader, where you can visually see those tables and get the see access the data. So that is another way of getting the data. A data model can be designed to integrate the operational data of the organization. As I told you, the database is used for the day-to-day activities, that is operational activities of the organization. Here is the example of a sales organization. Data model for managing customer orders will involve customers, orders, products, and their interrelationship. Suppose if you have a part of a database which is dealing with the sales, then we will have like information stored in a tables like customers table, orders, different orders that we are giving, what are the different products we have, and their interrelationship, means if the relation between each of these things, means orders, definitely there will be a certain customer and he will be ordering the certain product. So there is a relation between order and the customer, and order and the product, and so on. Those, all those relationship that are captured in the database. So there are many database management systems, DBMS. For example, we have commercial databases like Oracle and DB2, and there is also open source free DBS. For example, MySQL and the Postgres. They are the open source free databases that we can use. And the DBMS help process and store millions of transactions worth of data every second. And which data set should be used? It depends on the organizational requirements. What is their data size? What are the real time data they are getting? Based on all the factors, the particular database will be selected. So here we have a simple example, database of a sales of a movie worldwide for retail organization. So these are the movies transaction database. We have order number or the order ID, date of sold, then product name, location, and amount. So So we have different orders, their dates, what product's name is there, location is selected as like a US, India, UK, I can see, and amount. This is the amount. This is a simple table. Now, data warehouse. What is a data warehouse? Data warehouse is an organized store of data from all our organization. Okay, one thing I have to tell you, right? When we have a data warehouse, it can get the data from many operational databases that are available in the organization. In that particular organization, for sales, there might be a separate database. For other activities, there might be separate database, and there could be other sources other than this where they are getting the data. All those data will get fed into the data warehouse. A data warehouse is an organized store of data from all over the organization, specially designed to help make management decisions. Okay, so basically, I told you data warehouse. The important aspect of the data warehouse is for making decisions, so that looking at certain queries, okay, certain data, they can make a certain decisions. We'll see a small example which will help in understanding what we are talking about. Data can be extracted from the operational database to answer particular set of queries. This data combined with other data can be rolled up to consistent granularity and uploaded to separate data store called as the data warehouse. Therefore, the data warehouse is simpler version of a operational database with the purpose of addressing reporting and decision making needs only. So what kind of operations are performed? It depends on the individual organization. Here, either data can be rolled up, so it can be rolled down. There are many other operations, slicing, dicing, all those things. It depends on the requirement, and that particular information will be stored in the data warehouse, which predominantly work to address the reporting purposes to the higher management or decision making needs. So here is the example. One second. Okay. Uh, okay. Here is the example of a movie sales data warehouse. You can see here, this is the row, and quarter wise we have the summary. So quarter wise, product wise, we have what is the sales data. So if you see here, this is Q2 Gone with the Wind, that is the product name. So for that quarter, it amounts to $15. That is for the quarter two. Similarly, quarter two, Monty Python, $30. So what has been done is the data has been rolled up quarterly instead of having a date. Okay, so you can see here different dates, right? So quarter is for what? The whole complete year is divided into 4 quarters. So these dates will go into one of the quarters, and all the data is summarized for a quarter and for a particular product, maybe for a particular location, and it depends on how many dimensions you want to have. Then total for a total amount of the sales. Here in this example, we have only the quarterly summary for each of the product. So what kind of queries we can run on this, that we will see in a bit. This is the comparison between the database and the data warehouse. In case of a database, purpose-wise, data stored in the database can be used for many purposes, including day-to-day operations. That is the main purpose. Data stored in data warehouse is cleansed data useful for reporting and analysis. And granularity, high granular data including all activity and transaction details. So high granularity is very high. Here it is low because it is rolled up. Okay, rolled up into a certain key dimensions of the interest. So dimension can be like a date, that is quarters. It can be wise a location, that is another dimension. So we can have n number of dimensions. Complexity, highly complex with the dozens of hundreds of data files linked through common data fields, typically organized around large fact tables and many lookup tables. Size grows with the growing volume of the activity and transaction. Old completed transactions are deleted to reduce size. So the whatever the old data that will be purged. Okay, whatever the technique the organization wants to use, that will be removed. Whatever is the required data for the operations, that will be kept. This particular data warehouse, it keeps on grows the data from operational databases rolled up and appended every day. Data is retained for a long term trend analysis, because we need historical data for doing the analytics. So large amount of data will be present in the data warehouse. Architectural choices in this database, it can be relational or object oriented databases. In case of data warehouse, we use the star and the snowflake schema. Data access mechanism primarily through the SQL, traditional programming access DB through open database connective ODBC, or if it is using the Java related JDBC can be used. Access through SQL. SQL output is forwarded to the reporting tools and the data visualization tool. So SQL will run it. The SQL output is given to the reporting tools, whatever the reporting tools if you have. For example, BERT is one reporting tool, and many BI tools comes with the reporting as well as the data visualization. Data is provided to those. Next, data mining. Data mining is the art and science of discovering useful, innovative patterns from the data. There is a wide variety of patterns that can be found in the data. There are many techniques, simple or complex, that help with the finding the patterns. Data mining is what? Discovering some kind of a pattern, some kind of a pattern that is hidden inside the data. This is the example, the movie sales example. You can see movie sales quarters and cross tabulation by quarters. Okay, you can see this is by quarters, then gone with the wind. This is the Q2 and this one. Okay, this is the matrix. We get this value as 15. Q2 and matrix value is 0. Then you can see here these are the products. Okay, and it's a cross matrix. This is the quarters and this is the different product names. And looking at this area, you can easily find out which is the highest value. So you can see here this sales is highest. Okay, this is total. If you see these products, among these products, you can see highest is 36, that is matrix Q3, and lowest also you can see Q2 and Q4, the matrix. And these are the different values. So easily you can understand the information looking at this matrix. Okay, based on the above table, what kind of answers we can get? What is the best selling movie by revenue? Okay, by revenue, if you see, this is the revenue. Okay, and the best selling, sorry, that is total sales amount. This is the revenue, right? This is the total sales. If you look at this product, which is the best selling, so you can say this is Monty Python. That is the best selling. Then what is the best quarter by revenue this year? Then you look at the this is the revenue quarter wise. You can see Q3. Q3 has the highest revenue. So answer here is Q3. Any other pattern? My matrix movie sells only in Q3. Okay, so here another information that this matrix movie sells in only quarter 3. So in quarter 2 and quarter 4 it is 0. So that is some kind of a information that we can get. And similarly, there are some other questions. What is the best selling geography? So you have to include the location as another dimension. When you are pulling this table, you have to include the location as the one more dimension, then you will be able to answer this particular questions. So these are the some of the most important data mining techniques that will generate some kind of a insight. First one is the decision tree. We are going to see it in a later part of your syllabus also. So decision trees are used where it can classify the data into certain classes. So those classes are nothing but the decisions you want to make. So uh, decision trees, they help classify population into classes. Regression technique, this will get a best fitting curve. So you have all the data that is available, and we will fit like a best curve for that data, which will almost explain all the data points. Okay, and we will try to minimize the error. So using that best fitting curve, I will be able to do the prediction. So if there is any new data point, if I have a certain prediction has to be done based on this curve, I can do the prediction. Next is the artificial neural network. This artificial neural networks, it is a multi-layer non-linear information processing model. These layers, we give the input and train these models, and these will ANNs will have the neurons, and the neurons will have the weights. And as you train these models for the training data, whatever the data set you have, so it will start adjusting the weights on the neurons, so it would be able to predict any result for a unknown input. So for artificial networks, that is a one technique which we can use as a data mining technique. So that also we'll see in the detail in later section. Again, next is a cluster analysis. This is an important data mining technique for dividing and conquering large sets of a data. So we, whatever the data is given, it will be grouped into different clusters. How many clusters? It depends on the knowledge of the data miner. Maybe two clusters should be a good fit, or three, or maybe four clusters. So it depends on the data, what kind of a data we are dealing with, and how many clusters which will be uniquely identified. So for cluster analysis, that would be one technique. Then association rule mining. Association rule mining is a basket analysis. So you have to analyze the market basket data, which item was bought along with another item, and how frequently it is done. Then that is what we call the association. For example, if you have gone through the classic example of market basket analysis, bread and milk. So whenever people are buying bread, they also buy milk. This association is revealed by analyzing the all the market basket data. So many customers, whenever they buy bread, they also buy the milk. So this will give a kind of a information. Let us say one person buys a bread. There is a very high probability that the person will buy milk also. If he is not buying milk, then you can say, would you like milk as well? Most probably he has forgotten, he might buy. So that is association that is used in many ways. If you are buying a laptop, what goes well with your laptop? If you are buying a let us say SLR camera, then you will get a list. People who bought this item also bought this, or memory cards, or tripods. So that is based on the market basket and applying the association rule mining. Then data visualization. Data visualization is, as we told, it's a very important aspect how we represent the data, and it gives a lot of information. Whenever we are presenting the data, we should be considerate about the present the conclusion and not just the report. We have to just show the report. Choose wisely from palette of graphs to suit the data. Organize the results to make central point stand out. So whatever you want to say, that should be organized well. Ensure that visuals accurately reflect the numbers. Inappropriate visuals can create the misinterpretation and misunderstanding. And next one, make the presentation unique, imaginative, and memorable. So that is the challenge that we get for the data visualization. This is one example of a data visualization. So in the next class, we'll look into the business intelligence concepts and the applications.